Yeah. So, welcome to a brand new podcast. This is going to be called the SNS Football Podcast. My name's Braden. I'm joined by one of my good friends, Morgan. Morgan, if you'd like to say hello.
All right, guys.
So, basically, what this is just simply a football podcast. We're just going to talk absolute waffle for most episodes on football, anything to do with football, and the current topics and sort of how things are going. As you may be able to tell, I am a Man United fan. Morgan, I believe your team may be obvious by the shirt hanging behind you.
Yeah, a villain. Pride of Birmingham, of course. Probably a debatable topic now, but yeah, Aston Villa fan. So I'll get the Villa dynamic on here as well.
So yeah, we got a bit of both worlds. I say. I mean, Villa a little bit higher than United at the minute, but who would have guessed that? But yeah, apart from that, I also support Plymouth, my local club in League One, flying high, which is always good. Good to see. And yeah, we'll be covering loads of different topics and going off of that. So I guess the best place to start is the Premier League this weekend was as good as it always is.
Yeah. So first fixture of the weekend was a dire 0-0 on a Friday night in Brighton. Brighton v Burnley 0-0. What do you think?
I mean, if you're paying 15 quid for that, then geez, I mean, I thought Brighton probably could have won the game. I think if you're looking at the two teams, Brighton, although they play the better football, you would expect them to win. And when they played against us, Chelsea, they looked good and they looked like they were going to score a lot of goals, especially this season. They look like a very good team. But it's Burnley, and Sean Dyche sets them up well, and he's got that long ball trait on as well. So I think if you had said to me they were drew 0-0, it wouldn't have surprised me, and it hasn't. But I thought if any team would have won it, possibly Brighton.
I think Danny Welbeck playing his first game for Brighton, I believe he missed quite a few chances, and in a game that Brighton, they've played some good football this year, but irrespective of playing good football, does it get them results? No. Like, they're playing half decent football, but they're not getting the results to go with it. And Brighton's a weird one because they do get praised in the media a lot, I think. And I think they get overhyped a lot. But Brighton are going to struggle this year. I think they lack goals in their side. I think Neil Maupay is a good striker, but Adam Lallana can't do it on his own. And I think Brighton are going to be down there this season. I think Burnley as well. Both two teams that realistically needed a win to kick their seasons off, and 0-0 is not good for both, especially Burnley not even winning a game yet. So
it's
worrying for both.
Like you said, I mean, they're both. I think they're 16th, Brighton. Burnley's 19th in the league. So not good starts for either. And I think the big thing for Brighton is, we've seen this summer players like, Glenn Murray obviously left, and John Watford in the Championship. And, he obviously doesn't fit the mould that Potter's brought in and is trying to implement. But at the end of the day, I still think he's a person who in the Premier League could get you 5, 6, 7 goals, and how important can them goals be? And like I said, Maupay had a really good start, because I think, in terms of the old FPL as well, he was, if we're looking at Calvert-Lewin, who's off the scale for goals in a minute, I think he was only a little bit behind him in the points wise, so therefore scoring lots of goals as well. But he seems to have not tailed off, but just sort of hit a little bit of a stumbling block at the minute, and hopefully, he can find his form. But it'll be a tough season, I think, for both teams. But Brighton, they've only got a -3 goal difference as well. So they've still scored 11 in them 8 games. So scoring goals, it's just conceding. Meanwhile, Burnley have only scored 3 in 7 games, and they've conceded 12. And you'd think, Sean Dyche, he'd really look at that defensive structure, but it hasn't quite worked out for him at the minute.
I think you summed that up perfectly. I think Burnley lack squad depth, and ultimately I think both sides are going to be down there. Next game, Southampton Newcastle 2-0 to the Saints. A game that I'm going to be honest. I actually predicted 2-0 prior to the game. I thought Southampton, it was an easy win for them. People did actually back Newcastle to get something, but not for me. Southampton, too good in form. And even without Danny Ings, they've managed to put 2 past Newcastle and not just beat them, absolutely destroyed them. I watched this game and Newcastle didn't look like scoring if they'd have played for another 24 hours. It was such a dominant performance.
I think the thing with Newcastle as well is, I think it's similar with them and West Ham, is they offer chalk and cheese performances. Like one week, Newcastle would be in Everton 2-1 at home, high flying Everton, second or first in the league. And then next week they lose to Southampton, who are still, a very good team and very much in form. But they didn't have Danny Ings, who was their main guy, and like you said, Southampton absolutely outplayed them. And Newcastle, I mean, even when we went to play them and we won 4-1, you think at the time, it's Man United, they're not there at the minute, they're there for the take and they're vulnerable. But in the game, I know we went 1-0 down in the first couple of minutes to an own goal. But apart from that, until obviously we did end up scoring with Maguire's header, we were still on top of them and there wasn't really any fight or any attack from them. It just kind of, there was just nothing. And obviously we come away with a win. I know 4-1, a lot of the goals were in like the last 5 minutes, but it was a win and I thought that we deserved that and Newcastle didn't offer anything. But like I said, it's a bit of a weird one because Newcastle they've been backed in the summer, which, how many times have we been able to say that in the transfer window? They got in Fraser, Wilson, Lewis, some good Hendrick as well. I know a couple of them were free, but some good signings there, and it's nice to see that they're getting some.
Yeah, Newcastle are a difficult one because I actually have a friend of mine who is a very big Newcastle fan, and he's just not happy. I think the whole Mike Ashley takeover situation, the Saudis not being able to take over them, there's just any result Newcastle get, they're still negative. There's such a negativity around the club, and despite having such a good transfer window, I thought bringing Callum Wilson in, an England international who's been brilliant for them, players like Alan Saint-Maximin, Miguel Almiron, I rate really highly. With a team with an attacking prowess like that, I think they recorded 1 shot on target in the entire game, and they just didn't give Southampton anything to worry about. You look at Alan Saint-Maximin, he could single-handedly destroy a team on his own, and it's Steve Bruce football. As a Villa fan witnessing it for 2 years, unfortunately, I just think Steve Bruce is not the man to take Newcastle to where they should be. And I think they've got to look elsewhere. The managers out there and the power that Newcastle have, I think they are going to struggle. I think the quality of players they've got will definitely keep them in the league. I don't think they're the worst. They're one of the worst 3 in the league by a long stretch. But I think as the Premier League does get better in years to come, they've got to go and get a new manager because a performance like that, especially, it's just really alarming with the attacking players. He's just not getting enough out of them.
No, and like I said, mentioning St. Maximin, he is something else. And Newcastle, what a piece of business that is. I know maybe the goal return or the assist return maybe not quite as what they expected, but he is still one other player. And every time they seem to do something good, it's through St. Maximin. He's something else. And it's a weird one with them. And I think, don't get me wrong, I don't think if they were going to go down, I think last season they were looking a bit ropey at times, but I think they'll be fine this season. Sorry, though, there'll be nothing wrong with them. And in terms of Southampton, who knows? They were top of the league for 2 days. Their Twitter admin really enjoyed that one. But Southampton, Newcastle, they'll both easily be in the Prem next season. It'd just be interesting to see where they both finish because Southampton, great start, but who knows the extent Danny Ings' absence is going to have as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So the next game, the early kickoff on the Saturday, Manchester United versus Everton. I know this will be a game that Braden will love to cover, but I think it's a game that Ollie simply had to win. Pressure was on. Playing against a good Everton side, they've had their injuries and they've had their suspensions, but another poor performance from Everton. Bit disappointed. I think it was a game that especially before, I was looking at and thinking Everton, if they want to break into that top four this year, top five, it's a game that they've got to beat. And a non-informed Man United side, as much as United have got quality players, it's a game that they should really be trying to get something out of. And I felt they let their fans down, really. I just don't think they offered anything. And I think as soon as Man United got that goal back, it was quite a comfortable, controlled performance.
I think, like I said, I was speaking to you and I was speaking to a couple of my other friends beforehand, and I was saying that I think in terms of United's next few games, obviously we had Everton and we've got West Brom coming up, obviously after the international break. And I said that if we didn't get minimum 4 points from that game, I think he'd go, because we were sort of relying on this Champions League run. Then obviously Istanbul happened, and we'll get more into that in the next sort of bit. But in the league, it just hasn't been there. It really hasn't. And you can talk all you want about whatever's happened, but in terms of the game, he had to win it. He had to beat Everton, and or at least, in my opinion, come away with a draw, but like a really good performance draw. Like, you've just, like, how have you not won the game type thing. You had to come away with at least that or a win. And we went 1-0 down, and I did fear the worst. I thought, this Everton team, it's not one that had three of their midfield mistakes. They've had that. I think they had a game this season where James, Doucouré, and Allen have all been missing.
Yeah.
They were all there. Their team was pretty much full strength, I'd say. And like I said, when I went 1-0 down, I was thinking, this is not looking good. It's not looking good. But apart from that, I thought the team performance was absolutely fantastic for Man United. That's exactly what we want to see. It's Fred, McTominay were fantastic in the middle. Maguire and Lindelof with Sean Wan-Bissaka deserve huge praise. De Gea again, I thought was fantastic. And then, I mean, Bruno, what more do we have to say about this guy? He's something else. And, you could say he's saving Ollie's job, but I think, it's what Man United needed is a player like Bruno. And, to think we've still got Telles to add into the team, and Greenwood was obviously absent as well. And then to top it all off, Cavani gets his first goal, and I was screaming for Bruno to set him in when he was on that 3-on-2. So now I was happy to see Cavani score, because I think he's had a few good chances in earlier games, but it's nice to see him score.
Yeah, United are a funny one. I think the Ollie out brigade is definitely warranted. I think he is, for me, not the man to take United to the next level. Very similar to Steve Bruce at Newcastle. I don't think he's the right fit for the job. But the one thing that I think Ollie deserves credit for is the positivity that he has embraced. The Bruno Fernandes transfer was under Ollie's management. He's brought in a player who is world class and who has changed Man United's fortunes. You have to look at the back end of last season. Yes, this season hasn't been great, but United were the form team last year. The unbeaten run they went on. I remember when they played Villa and smashed us 3-0, and it could have been 6 or 7, to be honest. And
yeah,
that was the relentless Man United of old. So I think Ollie has to get results. You look at how open the Premier League this year is. If Ollie wants to make a statement and prove all his data's wrong, he has got to start getting a bit of form together and start pushing, because you look at who's at the top of the table, teams like Southampton this year and Leicester. United, it's a season that they want to break in.
yeah.
I think it's a really missed opportunity. But Everton will be fine this year. Really good team. They've invested well, had a great transfer window. Ancelotti's a great manager, and I've backed Everton top 8 this year. I don't think that's a long shot, and I wouldn't look too much into Calvert-Lewin not scoring again, because
he
scored last game. So
that's the thing as well. I think that's only the third or fourth game which he hasn't scored in, which shows you what a good job Maguire and Lindelof did do, and the whole defence did. But I think we United, we've just come out of really tricky month of fixtures. We've had Chelsea, Arsenal, PSG, Leipzig, obviously Istanbul. So we've had like 5-6 really, and Everton as well, obviously 5-6 really tough games. And we've only lost to Arsenal and Istanbul, and on other days, especially against Arsenal, we know, in my opinion, that's a 0-0 draw written all over it. I mean, Pogba doesn't give away the pen. That was a 0-0 draw. I didn't think any team had enough to win it. I thought Arsenal were good defensively, but offensively they didn't really offer anything. And same with Chelsea, they had one shot on target against us. So if there's any team going to win that, it was going to be us, because Mendy pulled off about 3 fantastic saves. So look, we've come out of a difficult month, and Ollie's come out of a difficult time as well. But he's still in it. He's got to keep getting results. But at the minute, like I said, I'm not Ollie out yet, and it'll take stuff a lot worse for me to do that.
So, next game, Crystal Palace 4, Leeds 1. Another heavy 4-1 defeat for Leeds United. I have very strong views on Leeds United this season, as you know. But I also have a bit of a view on Crystal Palace. What do you think of the game? Obviously, Palace coming out 4-1 winners, which looks a quite heavy scoreline.
Yeah, massive shock for me, if I'm being brutally honest. Like, Palace were just unbelievable. I mean, Eze, I think, ran the show as well. I mean, I think that's only his first Premier League, second Premier League start, and he absolutely ran the show. Fantastic free kick. I think he got an assist as well, or another goal. He was unbelievable. And yeah, with Leeds, I mean, chalk and cheese again. You know, they beat you 3-0. They draw with Liverpool. No, sorry, they didn't draw with Liverpool. They lose to Liverpool, but only narrowly. They draw with City at home, and they're losing 4-1 to Palace. And you know, it's funny because one of my mates said the other day, he's a United fan as well. He said, if United win our game in hand, I think we go above Leeds. And everyone's been raving about Leeds this season, saying, you know, how good they are, or we might even be above them now, I'm not sure. But it's such a weird one. And this season is started like no one else could probably imagine, and the results are all over the place. But like, if you had told me Palace to win 4-1, I wouldn't have said that. I think Leeds have, you know, they're some team, and I think they've got a really good manager. But maybe it's just that consistency they need to work up on.
I think Palace are a weird one because they always seem to start the root season very well and then tail off at the end. Eze looks a brilliant signing. I just think people need to give Palace the plaudits they deserve. The football they play, yes, it's not the greatest football, but Roy Hodgson gets results. And for a guy that failed with England, I think he's done so well to keep Crystal Palace in the Premier League, because they are just a bang average side, and with a little bit of quality, he's been able to keep him in the Premier League for the last 2 or 3 seasons. So I think that deserves credit. And I think if you break the game down, yeah, Leeds had a few unlucky moments. The Bamford offside, I think that's a joke.
Yeah.
You know, just what is the rule these days? The Melia mistake, or the Helder Costa own goal, and again another unfortunate goal. But Leeds United are very overhyped in the media, and like you said, you know, if Man United were to, I think, win or draw their next game, then they're pretty much on the same points as Leeds.
Yeah, I'm actually checking that now. We're actually same points as Leeds, and we got a game in hand on them.
It's madness because, yes, Leeds were very good against Villa. They've been the best team that we've played against this season by a country mile. They absolutely battered us, and I'm going to hold my hands up and say that they fully deserved it, as much as, you know, it annoys me because I have Leeds United fans. But they were brilliant. But I don't get the hype around them. You know, some people are already talking about them being the best newly promoted team. I just think it's disrespectful to teams like Wolves and Sheffield United, who have just been fantastic. I know Sheffield United haven't started well this season, but Wolves have been brilliant, you know, and that hurts being a Villa fan saying how good Wolves have been. But I think Leeds fans just need to keep their feet firmly on the ground. I think the media, though, don't help. I don't think it's necessarily Leeds fans, but I think they'll be. I definitely think they'll be all right this year. I think Leeds will finish probably bottom half, but top of it. I think they'll have a good season, and same with Palace as well. I think they'll be top of bottom half. I can't see Palace getting relegated. I think they've got too much quality, both of them, to be honest, to get relegated this year.
I think with Palace as well is they're up to 8th now in the league. They're 8th, and you know, largely that's down to Zaha as well. Last season, I think towards the end, especially, he drew a few blanks, and you know, wasn't quite getting the goals and assists this season. He's playing to the best of his ability, and he's getting the goals and assists, which is ultimately keeping them up. I mean, there was a stat, I think 2 seasons ago, when he was literally on fire for them, that if he wasn't at Palace, they would have been down by quite a bit. Like, so he's some player for him, and I'm surprised he still hasn't moved away yet. I think, you know, I don't know how old he is, maybe 26, 27, I want to guess, around that maybe. So I think soonish maybe, because I think he did want to go in the summer, but I don't think anyone really come in for him. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens with him, maybe January or even in the summer. But for now, I think Palace are fine, and I think Leeds will be fine as well. I think they'll be, like I said, top of the bottom half, but they're not the best newly promoted side yet. But we'd have to see at the end of the season. Who knows? They could finish second. Who knows?
Yeah. Next game, Chelsea versus Sheffield United. Chelsea winning 4-1. Interesting game of football. Sheffield United taking the lead through David McGoldrick. Chelsea switching off from a corner. Nice little flick from McGoldrick at the front post. Sort of central of the goal is now give all the Advid Mendy lovers not the clean sheet record that everyone's banging on about him getting and breaking. But Chelsea, after they scored the goal, great goal from Tammy, just relentless. I mean, Sheffield United from that stage on just didn't have a foot in the game, really. And it was pretty much inevitable that Chelsea were going to go on and win the game pretty comfortably. I think it's starting to click at Chelsea now. I think they, I have criticised Chelsea this season for the players they've bought, but I have to think about them embedding the players in the team, and it's not going to take 10 minutes. And I think Lampard deserves his credit again this season. I know he's had his critics last season and his fair share of plaudits, but I think Chelsea have done all right this season. They're there or thereabouts. They've had a few dodgy games, but yeah, Chelsea are doing well this season, and I think they will push on now and break into that top four this season. Well, top three too this season, to be honest.
Yeah, I think my fear with Chelsea is, watching their transfer business, I was ripping the air out, because I think that's exactly what, maybe I don't think Man United need the extent of signings that they had. I think they had 6, 7 signings come in, and if you look at all of them are first team players. I think Man United only needed maybe 1 or 2 first team starters to bring in, and we didn't get any. If I'm being honest, I don't think, apart from maybe, I think personally Van der Beek should be started. We didn't get any real first team players come in. However, with Chelsea, I always said, will all them players gel? Will they gel quickly? And it's taken time. I know Chilwell had an injury. Thiago Silva was coming back from fitness. Ziyech had an injury as well. The best. But I think it's trying to fit all them players in. I mean, Pulisic is injured as well. And it's sort of like, I understand they're like, oh, when he comes back, we've got them, Pulisic and Havertz still to come back. We're like, yeah, but are you going to fit them all in? Who's going to start over who? So yeah, I think, look, there's no doubt Chelsea are looking like a real force, and I'm not going to beat around the bush and say they're not, because they are. It's just, it was always for me whether they could sort it out defensively. I think that Werner's goals, he will score goals. They got Tammy as well. Ziyech is, an incredible technical player, along with Havertz as well. If he can bring his form over from Leverkusen, and if Pulisic returns to injury as well, they'll be fine up there. Just defensively, and they seem to have sorted that out, especially with Mendy. We were having a good old bit of fun every time Kef was playing, saying, okay, that shot he saved, the next one's definitely going in. That's his 50% save ratio coming in clutch there. So no, that they sorted it out. And in terms of Sheffield United, it's not looking good for them at the minute. It's not looking good. I mean, like I said, they're off to a flying start. You thought that maybe could they hold on to maybe at least a point, and really this could get their season going away at Chelsea, but it wasn't to be. And they've made some good signings. I think if you look at Brewster, great potential. It's just whether he can do it in the Prem. They've made, I'm trying to think, they've made so many, but a lot of them have been from Championship clubs. But I think the main problem for Sheffield United is replacing Henderson, and I don't think Ramsdale is quite there yet. I mean, even with Bournemouth towards the end of last season, I had my reservations about him, and even now, it doesn't seem like he's filling the boots.
For me, Ramsdale has been poor this season. I think Sheffield United, I want to just credit Chris Wilder first because I think he's done an amazing job, especially last season. They were unreal. But with Sheffield United, I think it's just simply a case of they've been found out. I think people now know the way they play. And I think people are finding it way too easy to play against them. They don't score enough goals. They didn't really last season, but they had the defence to back it up. This season, the defence is quite leaky. And like you said, I think Dean Henderson has made a massive difference. You look at Sheffield United with and without him, and they're just a different team. And, you can tell that back 3 or 5 for Sheffield United are not comfortable with Ramsdale in goal. I don't think they really trust his ability. And watching a lot of the goals go in, you think, he could have saved that. It seems to be a lot of that. And I'm worried for Sheffield United because I think it could be the second season syndrome kicking in. And I don't want to see them get relegated, but I do look at their team and think they overperformed massively last year and they haven't got a whole lot of quality, in my opinion, to keep them in the Premier League. They haven't got players that you can go, yeah, but he's had experience in a relegation fight. This is their first experience, I imagine, in going to be a relegation fight this year, and they're gonna find out soon whether they're fit for it. But as for Chelsea, just fantastic. Again, it's that headache of Lampard having the squad depth now of who's going to play where and who's going to start over who. But I think it's a good time to be a Chelsea fan. I think they've got a lot of good players. Lampard now just needs to find the system. I do think Lampard's the right man for the job. I think he's done really well with them so far, especially so early on in his management career. But yeah, I'd be a lot more worried if I was a Sheffield United fan right now.
Yeah, just the 4 goals scored for Sheffield, which is one more than Burnley, I guess. But the other end is the issue. So that they need to sort that out massively, especially goal scoring. It's whether Brewster can come in and be the one to score goals, or is he just going to be Solanke 2.0 when he went to Bournemouth? So I think that could be their only, saving grace in terms of goals, because I don't think McBurney's hitting it well. And McGoldrick, although he scored against Chelsea, I think we all know sometimes it can go either way of him. But no, Chris Wilder's got a big task ahead.
He definitely has. And, we move on to another team who are struggling this season, who should have got a point at the London Stadium. West Ham 1, Fulham 0. A game that was a very, very good game for a game that looked very dire.
Yeah.
If you looked at it before the season started, it was a cracking game of football, really end to end. And I was really happy with how Fulham played. I think Scotty Parker has started to really show what he's made of. I know they're not getting the best results, but they were very impressive against West Brom in a game that the pressure was on them and they did fantastic, especially compared to when we went there in the second game of the season and destroyed them. I think it was 3-0. And they were just a calamity at the back, but they seem to have got their defensive issues sorted. I know they've brought in a few players like Anderson from Lyon. So they have brought in some decent players before the window, as much as their chairman wanted it more than Scott Parker. But Fulham, for me, I'm starting to think that they might have a chance of survival. That you look at teams like Burnley and Sheffield United and West Brom, where are these wins going to come from these sides? And Fulham, for me, the last 2 games have shown enough that they can go to places on and off if another team has an off day and get something. As much as Lookman missed the penalty, I think he's a great player. Mitrovic, again, bagsman, goal scorer. He's done it in the Premier League before. Kearney's a really good player, Scottish international. So we're looking at a decent Fulham side here. West Ham, I've been really impressed with this season, bar the first 2 games, demolishing Wolves. Should have got something away at Arsenal, drawing to Man City, should have got something at Liverpool. They've had a really tough fixture list, and I think they've held their own and done really, really well this season. So I think credit to David Moyes where due, in a toxic environment, which again, like Newcastle, there's so much going on around the club. He's really gluing it together right now. And signing players like Ben Rama, I'd have loved him at Villa, but I don't think Villa would have paid Brentford 60-odd million for 2 players. So West Ham have got a real player there inside Ben Rama and Jared Bowen as well. 2 cracking championship players that I'd have loved at Villa that West Ham having their grasp, and they managed to get over the line with a Thomas Souček goal.
Yeah, I mean, like you say with Fulham, I mean, I think when they played you, they had a back three of Hector, Adoy,
Tim
and
Ream.
Tim Ream. And I'm looking at that defence and I'm going, they had that defence the last time they were in the Prem and they got relegated. This is not a Premier League defence. And then obviously they've got in the boy from City, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and also Anderson as well. And it seems to have shored things up. And then Lookman was a really strange one going to Fulham. I thought, that raised my eyebrows, definitely. But in terms of the game against West Ham, I mean, to try that,
Yeah.
If it comes off, it's something incredible. But in that situation, I think you've just got to absolutely shear it and put your foot through it.
It's inexcusable, isn't it? You look at a side like Fulham, every point is so vital, and that could be a point that ultimately relegates them. It's a side like West Ham, who are playing decent football at the moment. You should be taking opportunities like that, and Lookman will know obviously that he's made a massive mistake and just a horrendous error. But I do think that Fulham are showing signs this season, and in a game like that, they've held their own against a team that have been playing really well and are in form at the moment. And if I was a Fulham fan, I would be looking at the positives of that. The win against West Brom has clearly sparked a little bit of confidence within the side. So I think if they can defend like they did, and Lookman obviously not do stupid things like that, and get Mitrovic off the mark in the Premier League, because I don't actually think he's got a goal yet.
Got a couple of pens, I think.
Yeah, so he hasn't really been as much as what I thought he would be at the start of the season. I know he was in a lot of FPL teams, but I think he's slowly made his way out.
2 goals and 2 assists in 8 games for Mitrovic.
Again, I guess it's decent when you think about it when Fulham's there. But
yeah,
you've got to look at, if you're going to be a bagsman for a side like Fulham, he needs to get ideally 15 to 20 goals this year. It's a massive ask, but to keep Fulham in the Premier League, you're looking at that. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, a big game there, big 3 points for West Ham. Moving on to Sunday then, a very interesting day of fixtures. Not many goals until the final game, which we'll move on to, with a glistening smile on my face. But West Brom 0, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Spurs getting the winner in the 88th minute. Sam Johnson, a mistake, I think it has to be said. Harry Kane getting the header, looping over Johnson into the goal. West Brom's hard work undone.
Yeah, I mean, me and my mate, we had a bet on that we needed Kane to have 1 shot on target. And I think till the 88th minute, he had 5, of which I think 3 of them were blocked, and they were all going on target. So we were ripping our hairs out. And as soon as he scored that goal, it was a sense of relief. But I thought West Brom played really well. I thought they defended well, and they had some good chances. I know Son missed one in the first half where he seemed to take forever to after a shot, and then it got blocked. But no, I think West Brom, I think they probably would have deserved a point out of the game, really, if it had been 0-0. Could they have nicked one? Who knows? But Tottenham, I mean, the quality they've got now is unbelievable. I think their transfer window went really under the radar. I said when the international window closed, I said, the only thing they probably missed out on there is probably getting a centre half in, maybe a Skriniar or something. And then they went and signed Joe Rodon from Swansea. I'm not saying he's a Skriniar, but they got another defender in, and they seem to have addressed everything. They've got Bale back, they got a new left back. I mean, I know he was linked with United, and I'm kind of glad we didn't get Reguilon, just based off of the fact that we all know Real Madrid love a buyback. They absolutely love it. They did it with Diaz. They've done it before. They cut Odegaard's loan short. They love bringing players back. Even with Morata, I think they've done it once or twice.
Yeah.
So to me, for Man United, it didn't make sense for them to get Reguilon and Pimpy. That's maybe 1 or 2 good years, and then they sign him back. So, but there's no doubt he's a good player, and Tottenham needed probably another left back. So they've got an incredible attacking lineup, and in the midfield as well. I think and Dombele seems to be performing. So it's looking good for them. I said they could win the league. I said that to someone and they seemed quite shocked. And I said, well, look at the squad. You know, if they can find that consistency. Mourinho, it's sort of his second season, if you think about it. Maybe I know it's his first full one, but he had half of last year. You know, maybe before it goes third season, Mourinho, it all implodes or something. You know, I reckon they've got. If they're going to win anything, I think this is as good as chance that they've got because they've just got so much quality everywhere. Everyone seems to be peaking at the right times. It's just whether they can keep it throughout the whole season and see where they end up. But I did say it wouldn't surprise me if Mourinho wins the Europa League with them this year, like he did with us in his first year, and just depending on how the league's going, just sort of leave that to a side, maybe top four, and because it's so tight, and may just focus on the Europa League to get trophy and Champions League again.
I think two sides with different fortunes. West Brom are really in trouble. You know, I think they in some games they've competed well, and again this is another one. But when you don't take your chances and when you haven't got good enough players to take those chances, this is ultimately what happens. You know, Chelsea being 3-0 up and somehow drawing the game. Tottenham having so many chances in that first half and second half as well, and just not taking them. You know, they brought in Carlon Grant, who looks a decent striker, but is he really going to cut the mustard in the Premier League? And on the evidence of what I've seen, no.
He's got a goal already. To be fair,
he has got a goal already, but he does miss a lot of big chances. I think to the Brighton game, he missed quite a few big chances in a game that West Brom realistically should have been getting something out of. And I think there's been a few games this season already. I know he's only just joined, but he just doesn't look clinical enough. I might be being critical being a Villa fan, but he just isn't like Ollie Watkins. You know, you look at a player like Watkins who has come up from the Championship, and Watkins has already got 6 goals this season, and Watkins doesn't get many chances, and a lot of them end up in the back of the net. And I look at a player like Grant and think, if Grant gets a chance, I'm not too sure whether he's going to take him. So, yeah, I think West Brom are in trouble. I don't think they've got good enough quality within the squad. I thought Pereira would do a lot better than he has. I've heard absolutely nothing about him so far this season. I think he scored a free kick against Everton. Apart from that, I haven't heard anything. Dean Garner as well. They need more from their better players, and they need to be. You know, Sam Johnston, an ex-Villa keeper, it's a shame to see him make a mistake like that. But when
ex-Man United player as well.
Yeah, when you play a side like Tottenham in the form that they're in, you make a mistake and you get punished. So I think Spurs are going to challenge for the league this year. Kane, phenomenal player, arguably one of the best attacking, if not the best attacking player in the league right now, along with Son. Bale, hopefully he continues to get match fit. If he does start firing like he did before, which will be difficult with his age, Tottenham will be lethal this year. And I think Mourinho's done a brilliant job with them. And I do think now looking back at it, the reasoning behind sacking Poch, now what they've built in terms of a project, I think it's warranted. You know, I don't think Tottenham would be in this position with Poch in charge at all. I think Mourinho's got a real pull factor when it comes to bringing players, and you know, like the All or Nothing documentary shows, he's a winner, and he's trying to get the Spurs side to have a little bit more of a backbone. So I think a game like that proves that they are growing that backbone. So I think a game like that last season, Spurs would have drew or lost. So they're making a lot of progress, and I do think Tottenham are showing fantastic signs this year.
Definitely.
So moving on, Leicester City 1. Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. A game of two sides that are going to be pushing top 8 this season. Two good sides. A game that was decided really by an awful penalty decision, in my opinion. Again, what even is this handball rule anymore? Defenders just can't defend anymore. Max Kilman gets the ball smashed at his arm. Referee gives a penalty. After VAR, madness. Jamie Vardy converts to make it 1-0. They then get another penalty, which was a stonewall penalty, but Vardy missed, saved by Rui Patricio. But again, the big talking point is VAR and the handball rule, because it just wasn't a penalty, quite frankly, and it's cost Wolves 3 points.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, as a defender as well. I mean, if I was to give that away, I'd sort of be stood there like, well, what do you want me to do? I mean, because it's not natural for you to be running with your arms behind your back or down by your side because it puts you off your stride, and you know that's another chance you could give up. But you know, it was a pen and it wasn't. It wasn't in state of the fact that it's not handball. It's not handball, but it is a pen because the rule states that if it hits your hand and your hand's out of your body, it's handball.
Yeah.
But the hand hasn't moved towards the ball. His hand is just there because he's running or whatever. So it's a very harsh one. But by the rules of the game at the minute, it's handball. But definitely for me, they should be looking to change it. And I thought, you know, this is a really good game going into it. Leicester Wolves. If we look at last season as well, Leicester finished just outside the top four. Wolves had another great season, especially with the Europa League happening as well. They managed to balance the books in terms of the league and that as well. So you know, that game could have gone either way. Leicester, I think, probably just edged it. And like I said, Vardy converts again. Could have had another one from the spot which was saved. But I think Leicester. It'll be interesting to see where Leicester finishes this season. Whether they've got a bit of fire in their belly after last season, missing out narrowly on the last day after Lingard scored against them, or whether, you know, with Wolves, you know, they looking to go again in Europe, or, you know, see what happens with them. But look, there's two good clubs there, and they'll easily be, in my opinion, top 8. It's whether they can grab a top 6 spot or even top 4. Who knows how this season's going to go?
Yeah, Leicester 3 wins in a row. Tough next game though. They've got Liverpool. So again, another big test for Leicester. But yeah, Leicester obviously last season definitely should have finished in the top 4, and they choked it. It'd be interesting, really, to see if they can keep JB Vardy fit. You know, he is Leicester City. You know, you see how Leicester were against Villa. Without him, they are a completely different side. And for a player so old in terms of a Premier League striker, he is just a phenomenal footballer. And you know, I do fear for the era after Jamie Vardy for Leicester. I really do, because who is going to come in and do what he does and offer what he can to the team. And I do look at that and think it's a bit worrying for Leicester, because he's only going to be around for a few more years. So yeah, but if we're talking about this season, great performance from Leicester. Really good to get a win against a side like Wolves, who are very tough to beat. And yeah, top of the Premier League after 8 games, which is a fantastic achievement. But again, they were up there last season. They had a really good start, but they bottled it at the end of the season. So it'd be interesting to see if Leicester can sustain that quality throughout and not get affected by injuries, because they have been heavily affected so far. You know, I can only think of a handful of players like Sionchu and Didi.
Well, that's the thing I'm saying as well, is they kept a clean sheet against a good side like Wolves, got a very good striker in Jimenez, and they're missing Soyuncu, Castagne. I think they had Fuchs playing. I think Morgan played or come on.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, a very good defensive performance from them. And I think that Fofana at the back looks like a really good player and someone who, you know, is young, you know, has got potential as well. And, you know, he could be, you know, a good leader for them in years to come as well. But at the minute, he's had a great start.
I think Leicester having lost a lot of their key players, you know, I always think Leicester are so good at replacing good players that they've lost. And it doesn't seem like losing like a Maguire or a Chilwell affects them. And, you know, young Thomas at left back coming in, he's been phenomenal. Wesley Fofana looks like he's about 25. So composed and experienced at the back. James Justin as well, a player that I'm gutted that Villa missed out on, but we've got Matty Cash now, so you know.
I think Thomas as well. Even last season, I remember he come in for his Premier League debut, and it might have been against Tottenham at home. And I remember watching him. He played left wing back, and I think they drew 1-1 or something like that. And I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was absolutely incredible. I think he might have even got an assist in that game. And I just thought, this kid is good. And unfortunately, this season, I don't think he's had too many starts. But even again on the weekend, I thought he was good. And that's someone else to be looking out for. And he could be the next Ben Chilwell for them, to be honest, because he's got all the attributes. And I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, definitely.
Yeah. On to the next game. It arguably should have been the best game of the weekend, Manchester City versus Liverpool, ending 1-1. But it was arguably, in my opinion, one of the worst in terms of the quality of football being played. I think the first half was very good. I thought both sides, as much as I was shocked about Kevin De Bruyne missing that penalty, I thought both sides were going at it. Really good end-to-end game. Obviously, Mane got the penalty and Salah opened the scoring. Stupid tackle from Kyle Walker, which seems, like Roy Keane said, to be a bit of a familiarity with Kyle Walker. Bit raw, bit rash at times. Gabriel Jesus, brilliant equaliser. Just an individual brilliant goal. But Kevin De Bruyne missing that penalty, it really faded that game. You do think that if Man City scores that goal, they go on to win that game. And I think it was a game where I think both sides were happy with a point. Watching it, I think both didn't really go for the game. And as a neutral like myself, I was pretty disappointed in both displays, if I'm being honest, especially in the second half.
I think in the first half, there was parts of it, I think when Liverpool went 1-0 up, I think it was a little bit dull. But then obviously City got the goal back. It was a fantastic goal by Jesus, and a good ball from De Bruyne as well. Good little forward pass, good turn. Trent, I mean, the defending, I was watching, I thought, I can't believe he's just sort of let him go like that, because he's tried guessing where Jesus is going to go and he's completely left him open for a free shot, really. And, I couldn't believe that. And then we talk about Walker as well for the penalty. And it's just like, what is wrong with, you've got two of England's really good right backs here and they can't defend. So it's baffling to me. But I thought as soon as City scored, that period up until half time was some of the best bit of football I think I've seen all season. It was end to end. They were both going at it. Either team could have scored. But then afterwards, it just went dull again. And it just, all the hype, and we thought there's going to be some hectic 45 minutes going on here. But it just failed into insignificance, really. And, my mate's a Liverpool fan, he's a flatmate, lives with me. And, he was saying, I think this is potentially a title deciding game. I said, not in this season. No. I mean, last season, yes, it was definitely. But I think it was even done before they played each other. I think Liverpool was sort of running away with it a bit before. But this season, that was not a title deciding game. No. City in the table, I mean, they're not exactly high flying, they're 10th. Liverpool are 3rd. It's not title deciding, and I think one of them needed to probably go for it a bit more. And I think a lot of managers, especially if you look at the likes of Oli, Arteta, possibly Lampard, they get criticised for no one really had a go and really wanted to take that game and really go for the win. Neither did them two.
No,
I don't think either of them really wanted to go for it and go and get that 3 points. It just failed into insignificance. But obviously, we got to talk about the Joe Gomez handball, which is very similar to Matt Kilman. And for a second, watching the game, I thought there was a point where he wasn't going to give it, and I was going to say, well, if you're not going to give that, how can you give the Kilman one earlier? But so I wanted to see it get given just so there was a bit of reliability. Not because I like City more than Liverpool, because I hate them. But like you said, and De Bruyne missed, and it was. No, I couldn't believe that. It was a huge shock to everyone. I think there's a stat where De Bruyne is the first player in the Premier League in a few years to have a penalty off target. I think everyone that's missed, I think at least have had it on target in the past however many. So you wouldn't expect that from him, but I think City have too much quality to not break into the top 6 minimum, or top 4, I should be saying minimum, with the squad they got. So it'll be interesting to see whether them two finish. I think my prediction at the beginning of the season was City still to win the league. I think they've just got too much squad depth, and we've seen with Liverpool in recent weeks with injuries, have they got enough? And is it still going to work? And it can, but the points will be closer. But I still think City's got too much.
For me, the City have not got the relentless edge that other teams feared. I think last season they were so far off it. You look, they lost 9 games last season. They for the money they spend and for the quality of manager and team, it's just
that's why I think last season was possibly one of the worst title defenses.
Yeah.
Purely based off of the fact that I know you can say, oh, Leicester, and in Chelsea when Mourinho got sacked. Yeah, but with Mourinho, we all know third season, bang, he's gone. The head's gone. It's terrible. And Chelsea ended up finishing 8th, I want to say. I think they finished 8th. And then Leicester, no one expected them to win the league straight after. So it was just like the quality they had last season. They lost one player, and that was Company. They have the same squad that won the league, apart from Company, and it was just so far off. I mean, we beat them twice, 3 times out of 4. It was unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't believe some of the results that they were coming up against. I think even Wolves beat them early on in the season, 2-0.
Wolves actually did the double over them last season. Yeah. They beat them at the Etihad and Molineux, and they beat them at Molineux being 2-0 up. So, yeah, I think Man City they're in worrying times, to be honest. I think it will come a point where if they don't start picking up some form soon, I mean, questions of Pep are already seriously being asked, but I think if they do not get their act together after this international break and have a good Christmas period, I seriously do think that Pep is staring down the barrel of not being there next season. I think people are starting to question him. I don't think anyone can doubt the job he has done in football in general. He has revolutionised football. At one point, the Premier League was La Liga when Liverpool and Man City were like 99 and 100 odd points, just miles, heads and shoulders above everyone else. But I think similar to, as previously mentioned, I can't remember who I said about getting figured out, Chris Wilder at Sheffield United. I feel like people are now bringing Pep's football to the table, but like Klopp, making it better. I feel like Guardiola's brought an idea over, but now better managers, it has to be said, are now changing it relevant to their team and being better than Man City. I just feel like Man City are a one-trick pony now, and I think they need a new man to galvanise the group, because you look at the quality of players: Sterling, Jesus, Aguero, De Bruyne, Rodri, Cancelo, Walker, Edison, Laporte, Diaz looks really good as well. They've got Mahrez. They've got to have a good season this year, because for me, if they don't, I think it could be curtains for Pep, because again, who takes the Man City job? Who is good enough to get the Man City job right now? Who's out there that would want it?
It's exactly the same for United. If Ollie was to go, who gets it? I know the obvious one is Poch, but if you look away from him, Nagelsmann, do you go get him from Leipzig? I mean, that's a very long-term project with the age of him. And there's Allegri still out there. I mean, Sarri's out there. I don't know whether City or United would go for him, but there is people out there. But the thing with City is, I just wonder whether Pep is going all out for old big ears. I think that's the reason he's come in, and that's what Saudis want. They want old big ears. So. But yeah, again, on the other end, with the squad depth of City and the amount they spend, you can't just focus on one trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's cliche, but we go back to when United won the treble. I mean, they didn't. Yes, we had a lot of players. We didn't end up spending X, Y, Z on players. And, come April, we're still in 3 competitions. You can't just write off a league in, November, December? You can't just do that and go for big ears. You've got to go for everything you've got. And they still got the League Cup to come up. They still got the FA Cup. So the squad depth City have, there's no excuse to just write one off and go for the other. And if you're writing off the Premier League, then that's beyond me, really. It really is.
Yeah. Again, Man City are just not not what they used to be. I don't know how Pep's going to turn it round, but you look at now. I could name so many teams off the top of my head that play so much better than Man City have this season. You know, they just don't have the fear factor anymore. You know, I remember the first season that Villa went up. You know, I went to the Etihad Stadium to watch Villa versus Man City, and the general feel of all Villa fans was, we're not winning this game. We're not getting anything out of this game. We looked at Man City in the fixture list and went, right, write them two off. Just write them off. 3 points for City each time. They don't have that fear factor anymore. And I genuinely would back Villa to get a result against them. Judging at how we play against big teams, which is what I'm going to go on to in a second, I think we could do a number on them. And that's what is wrong with City. They don't have that fear factor. You look at how Leeds played against them. Leeds played the exact same way as they did against us, against Man City. And Man City 2 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. Leeds would have sat back and tried to have held them and defend against them. Teams want to attack them now, and that's what's changed at Man City. And hopefully for City fans, Pep can sort it out, because it looks like it is going pear-shaped there, and unless they get their act together, it looks like it's going to be another miserable season for them.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of City and Liverpool, I mean, you call me deluded, but I'm looking forward to playing them as a United fan. It's not just down to the respective derbies and rivalries, but I just think, you know, with Liverpool's defensive injuries, I know they've still got Gomez and Matip, which is obviously two central defenders. They're not playing Fabinho in there or a Reece Williams or something, but I just think with this way the season's going, they're both for the taking. I mean, we showed that last year against City, done the double over them. Like I said, I think Ollie's only one of 3 managers to beat Pep 3 times in a season, which he deserves massive credit for. So yeah, I think City are there for the taking. They really are. And, you know, I know they brought in a new centre half in Diaz because they had injury worries last season, and if Laporte gets injured again, they're going to need another centre half. They've got Ake as well, another defender they brought in. But I'm not convinced still by their defending. Walker as well, we've obviously spoken about him. And then with Liverpool, who knows? No Van Dijk. Who knows how much of an effect that's going to be? I know their front three is terrifying, but Firmino for me is on a very sticky wicket. I think, you know, that obviously all 4 started against City, but I think it's going to come a point where he'll go back to, well, possibly a 3 up front, and it's which one does he leave out? It won't be Salah, definitely not, and it won't be Mane. So it's does Jota start or does Firmino start? And he's got a really difficult decision on Klopp. But like I said, I'm looking forward to when United play them, because they're good games anyway. And, you know, I think the only problem I have with City is they're due a Premier League win over us now. We've beaten them, I think, twice. So they're due the next Premier League win. But with Liverpool, you know, obviously they did the double over us. Or they didn't. They drew and beat us last season. And I think in the game we drew, we should have won, definitely. We just had Rojo and Young playing, which were the Chuckle Brothers. So they'll both be fine. As we've said before, it'll just be interesting to see whereabouts they finish. I think if they finish outside the top 4, it'll be a major shock.
Yeah.
I think possibly for Liverpool, is it in terms of looking at the Champions League and going again? Can they go and win that again? And can they return the Premier League? Do they look at the FA Cup as well? Maybe, because I know they sort of wrote that off last season because of international breaks and stuff. So it'll be an interesting season for them. We're only 10 games in. We've got another 28 to go.
Yeah,
it's going to be good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where people finish this year. You know, I'm trying to be quite open, like quite subdued with where I predict people, because you just can't predict any game. You know, every game week just gives a different twist. Final game of the weekend.
I'll leave you to start on this one. You can start, and then I'll put my say in.
I imagine the floor is mine with this one. Arsenal 0, Aston Villa 3. Just simply a dominant display from Villa. I think it has to be said. For those of you that didn't watch the game, 40 seconds in, John McGinn opens the scoring with a brilliant top corner strike. No chance for Bernd Leno, which is part of the problem of the decision. The decision went to VAR and took a grand total of 3 minutes and 44 seconds to actually come to a conclusion, which is just part of the problem with VAR. Nearly took 4 minutes to make a decision. Ross Barkley was deemed to have been stood in an offside position. He blocked Leno's sight, and Leno somehow would have saved the shot according to VAR if Barkley hadn't have been there. A goal that just shouldn't have been disallowed. It was a massive let-off for Arsenal, I'm going to be honest. It's the letter of the law. If a player is in the way of a goalkeeper and deemed impeding him and another team score, the goal, I guess, should be chalked off. But it is a rule that, needs to be looked at, because Bernd Leno had absolutely no chance of saving it. But credit to Villa. We kept going. And we opened the scoring through what we thought at first was a Trezeguet goal, but it ended up being a Saka own goal. Brilliant play down the left-hand side between Barkley, Grealish and Target, which I just think is a brilliant triangle for us. And when they do play well, it's beautiful to watch. Arsenal had a really good chance at the end of the first half through Lacazette. Should have scored, but just didn't. Really, really disappointing miss. Emi Martinez didn't even have to save it, which was how bad it was. Partey gets subbed off at second half, which is where I really think the game spun in Villa's favour, because Arsenal was simply toothless in the second half. It was the same old Arsenal that we've seen under Emery and under Wenger at the end of his era. They were shambolic. Douglas Luiz, McGinn and Barkley were running the midfield before the change anyway, but I mean, it was just ridiculous. Villa, you can't play two in midfield against Villa unless you have two central midfielders that are going to boss that middle, because you saw what happened to Liverpool when Liverpool tried playing two in midfield and sort of having an advanced midfielder and not protecting the two playing against the Villa three, and they lost 7-2. Arsenal, this game should have been 6 or 7-0. You know, I'm not just saying this. We had so many chances. You know, we had Grealish shot cleared off the line. Grealish should have had another. It was a game that Villa really dominated, and I'm so pleased to see us play like that, because after two shocking performances against Southampton and Leeds, conceding 7 goals, to go and beat Arsenal 3-0 at the Emirates Stadium, I don't really think Villa get the plaudits they deserve. Watkins getting 2 goals, 6 for the season now. Grealish bullying everyone and running the show. It's a really good place to be right now, being a Villa fan, and compared to last season, we've come on leaps and bounds already.
Yeah, no, Villa for me have had a good window as well, and with the players you brought in, I know with Watkins and Cash, it was very much, you know, the same question: can they do it in the Premier League? Obviously, only Championship experience. They both look like they can, which is good. Traore, I think, is a good signing as well. I know he's obviously not in the team, but he's a little bit injury prone at the minute. But I think he'll be a good signing, because he has got Premier League experience. He's played in the Champions League, played in the Europa League. He looks like a very good signing as well. And Martinez, I mean, that is some steel. That is some steel, in my opinion. And I think, you know, when we look at it as well, he's kept more clean sheets at the Emirates than Leno has, and he's played 1 game. You know, and just in all areas, for me, you totally outbossed them, absolutely ran the show. And I mean, you know, I think there was another game on at the time I was watching, but every time I looked over, you lot were attacking, and I was looking at it thinking, if Arsenal even had a chance, is Aubameyang even playing? You know, it just didn't seem he was in the game at all. And I mean, Jack Grealish and Barkley, I thought, were unbelievable. I genuinely thought that, you know, Grealish, I mean, I know you quoted 80 million for us in the summer to go and sign him. To be honest, he probably could be worth that with the performance he's putting in now. I think at the time he was probably closer to around 50, I'd say 50 million mark, but now he's definitely, you know, getting towards that sort of value, and he is some player. And Barkley, that loan move seems to have worked out a treat for him. I mean, if we look at Loftus-Cheek, who's gone to Fulham, it's not quite working out, and I've seen a lot of Fulham fans say that, you know, their best midfield three does not have Loftus-Cheek in it. So, you know, I think Barkley's done fantastically.
I think Villa need You know, not just saying this being a Villa fan, but I do think we had the best transfer window this season quite easily. You look at the transformation, Matty Cash, absolutely brilliant right back, bullied Aubameyang. You know, we're talking about, you know, a player that in Matty Cash, who played so well against Liverpool, so well against Arsenal, so well against Leicester, against Harvey Barnes. He's coming up against good wingers every single week, and he is coming out on top. So unreal signing there. Barkley, I don't even need to say anything. Just a brilliant player, and you know, to come to a team like us, who needed a number 8, a real box-to-box midfielder who could give us that end product from midfield without relying on Grealish. You know, Barkley and Grealish have got such a good understanding of each other's games. You know, it's just beautiful to see when it does work out. And you know, you look through our team, we have got quality all over the pitch. Emi Martinez, again, one of the signings of the summer, just a fantastic, astute goalkeeper. One thing that I don't think people realise is that Villa have played 3 away matches this year, and we've kept clean sheets in every single one of them, which is something that we didn't do in the entirety of last season. We've got the most clean sheets in the league with 4. We're the joint, I think there's 5 teams, but we're joint least conceded this season. And when you consider that we shipped 4 to Southampton and 3 to Leeds, you have to look at the other games and think, like, wow, two goals, and that was against Liverpool. So it's just been fantastic so far. And for me, it might be an unpopular opinion, but I think Jack Grealish right now is the best attacking player in the Premier League. I don't care who wants to disagree with me on this. Give me a name of someone that not only has an end product like he has, but has an effect on the team, the whole team, like he does. You know,
Bruno Fernandes.
The thing is, Bruno for me has been too cold this season at times. I think looking at consistency, Grealish every game is the best player on the pitch, and he's just remarkable. You look at what he did against Liverpool. Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether anyone's seen the clip of where he nutmegs Van Dijk with a reverse pass, but the guy is just a joke. And when Watkins has got a player like Grealish setting it up for him, he's bound to get goals this year. And I saw some people saying Watkins wouldn't even get 10 this year. I think people will start revising that comment quite soon. But if you're looking at signings of the summer, if contracts were counted, I think Grealish is the signing of the summer, because
it's huge. It's huge.
He is instrumental to Aston Villa. You take Grealish out of Villa and we do not win football matches. And that's the fear, is that when he was going to leave in the summer, which he was, until things happened in the summer that changed it, like the transfer fee that we put for him, and Dean Smith and Christian Perslow all telling him that the plans are going to be different, and some of the players telling him, he would have gone. He wouldn't have been at Villa. And, you know, to see a Villa lad born in Birmingham, the biggest Brummie that you'll ever hear. His accent just says it all. But it's just a genius move from Dean Smith to put that lad captain. You know, from the moment he got put captain, we went on a 10-game run and got promoted to the Premier League. You know, keeping us up, scoring the goal at West Ham to keep us up, doing so well this year. I believe he's already got, I think it's 4 goals. It might be 3 or 4 goals and 5 assists already this season, which is just mental for a player of Jack Grealish's caliber. I think it might be 2 goals, 4 assists.
4 goals, 5 assists in the Premier League.
It's just ridiculous. You know, it is a player that should be starting for England, no doubts about it. We all know what the Southgate saga is with that. But you know what? I'm not really that bothered, because through Southgate's almost neglect of Grealish, I do refuse to watch the England side. Not only because of Grealish as well. There are a few other decisions that I completely don't agree with, and I've lost love for England through it. But yeah, if we're talking about Villa, I mean, fantastic start to the season. Arsenal, bit worrying. Mikel Arteta seems to be playing a little bit too defensive at home. He is now coming under a lot of criticism. You know, you consider Aubameyang, since he signed his new contract, he just hasn't been the same player. And I think when you've got the attacking prowess that Arsenal have in Saka, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe. It's quite worrying that they're not scoring goals at home, and they didn't even look threatening against Villa. I can't really remember them having a chance where, apart from the Lacazette chance, that I thought, oh my God, they look like they're going to score here. They were so poor in that game. So poor.
Well, remember, Arsenal are back under Arteta. They're back. You know, this is the Arsenal that they all love. You know, it's good attacking football. This is Wenger Part 2 happening, and things had a worse first 15 games than Emery, isn't he, or something like that? I've seen that the other day. It's the most Arsenal thing, you know, to beat us 1-0, which, like I've said before and mentioned before in this video, that it could have been 0-0 easily, because I didn't think either team deserved to win, if I'm being honest. I don't think we deserved to win, neither did them. And then lose 3-0 to you. It just sums Arsenal up 100%. And look, where do you start with Arsenal? I mean, Lacazette, I mean, I don't know what's going on with him. He just does not seem to be hitting any sort of form. Aubameyang's gone quiet. He scored a penalty. He scored a penalty against us, but again, in the game, he seemed quiet. Pepe, we all know, is on the bench. That 72 million they spent on him. You know, they're relying on Nketiah to come on, and then Saka, who's playing at a wing back role, to, you know, give them end product as well. It's not working for Arsenal, and they're 11th at the minute. And I just think, you know, a lot of people, I wouldn't say been raving, but have been sort of praising Arteta and saying, "Oh, look, we're on the right project and the right plan." United win their game in hand, they go above them.
Yeah.
So when's this Arteta slander coming in that Ollie's received? You know, Ollie's beaten he's been Everton this season. You know, he had a good run of games up until obviously the Arsenal result. But he gets slander as soon as he loses a couple of games. Arteta, I mean, they're not in Europe. Sorry, they are in Europe, but not in the Champions League.
Yeah.
They're not exactly cutting in the league. They got Gabriel's a good signing for him. I think he's a fantastic defender for him. But they've also got Rob Holding at the back, who I think at times is a bit on edge. It's just not quite working for him. And I don't know how long, you know, they could stick with him. You know, it depends how games go. But I guess you could say the same for Ollie. How long are you going to stick with him? But, you know, Arsenal is a difficult one.
They have serious issues. You know, I do rate Arteta as a manager, and I do think he will turn it round. I think Arsenal fans do need to trust the process. I just think their fan base are very similar to Villa's, you know, both prestigious clubs that want to be where they were before. And there's got to be a bit of realism here. You know, Arteta is working with a lot of players that he doesn't want there. And it was quite clear when he tried to offload half of them in the transfer window. You know, the guys got to have a chance. You know, with Arteta, you can see signs of what he is trying to do. And the Man United game was perfect. What I think Arsenal fans are so confused about is not only the team selection, but the formation. You know, playing so negatively against Villa at home. You know, we've lost our last two matches, and they go into the game playing, you know, not really having any intent to try and attack us. It seemed like they were actually petrified of what we'd got going forward. And I've never seen, you know, even Liverpool was still putting tackles into Jack Grealish. Arsenal fouled him once in the first half. There was a time when Bellerin, for the third goal, could easily have wiped Grealish out and completely stopped us from scoring. And Grealish just flicked him off. You know, you're looking at Arsenal have still got players from the old regime. I know quite a few Arsenal fans, and I had so many of them say Bellerin's one of the most improved players in the league. Watching that performance, try and tell me that now. Jack Grealish absolutely bullied him and made him look stupid. But you know what? A performance like that for Arsenal might wake them up a bit. Yeah. I don't understand the whole thing about Ceballos not playing. For me, whenever I watch him, I think he's Arsenal's most creative player. I think he, in the second half, for the opening 10 minutes, when Arsenal started quite well, I thought, he was piecing it together. He was passing it forwards, driving them forwards, and giving Villa a bit more of a problem. But Arsenal have got serious problems. For me, their team
Yeah.
is still bang average, and there's so many we say this every window. There's so many signings off being a good team, and where it comes a point where you have to start thinking, any manager, can they do it with a board like Arsenal have got? Can they realistically turn that club around? And for me, I don't think many managers would be able to turn around. Arteta's trying, and
Yeah,
fair play to him, but nah, it's not happening at the moment.
he's trying, and I think the thing we spoke about this for Arsenal is you got Ozil not even in the squad,
Yeah.
and I think even in a game like that against Villa, if you need a bit of creativity and you just get him off the bench, you have to put him in. But the problem I see with Arsenal's system is obviously they play 3-4-3, which obviously has two central midfielders. So if you put Ozil in that, either you start him or you bring him on and you put him in that, you will get overrun because he will not do any defensive duties. So you have to change system and go to a 5 in midfield where you got 3 central midfielders. So it allows Ozil to do whatever he wants attackingly, but you still got 2 there to do sort of, the ball recoveries and the defensive work. And I honestly don't get why he's not even in the squad, not even on the bench, because I just think obviously I don't think he's anywhere near the players of Bruno or De Bruyne or who else are we thinking of? Even if we were talking about maybe Jota being an attacking midfielder for Liverpool, but you still got that creativity. You don't just lose that; you just have it. So, hopefully, who knows? But I think Ozil will come back into the squad eventually. Or he'll go, and that's how it'll happen. He'll either come back in or he'll go.
I think, it is difficult. Right. I'm aware that we've gone quite over with time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on the spot. I want you to name the best player from this game week. We'll do it every week. And I want a shout for Fantasy League when the league starts back up.
Best player of this game week. I am going to go with... try to think. I've got the obvious one. I'm just trying to think outside of the box, see if there's any others. No, I'm still going to go with Bruno Fernandes.
Okay.
And that's purely based on the fact that, if you're getting 2 goals and an assist in a week, in a weekend against a good team like Everton, and not exactly, like Sheffield United, then, you've got to be up there. And I think he was completely instrumental. Personally, I would have taken him off with 10, 15 to go because he looked like Everton were going to get him sent off. And, I did fear that, not even a bad tackle, but he commits a foul and the Everton players are all around the ref and he gets a sent off, and that'd be a game missed. So I was saying, take him off, get Donny on, just put him on in attacking midfield and we'll carry on like that. But he kept him on, got the assist for Cavani at the end. So I'll go Bruno. And in terms of fantasy Premier League, I haven't really thought about it because obviously we got a bit of a break. But I think, just if we're keeping with Bruno, we got West Brom coming up. You'd expect him to be creative and trying to maybe break down a low block. So I'd go with him. And I think if anything good's going to come out, United's going to go through him. So I'd still go with Bruno.
So, fair enough, good choices. My player of the week, I'm going to be honest, it's quite hard because the thing is, I know I'm going to be quite biased here, but there are 3 Villa players that 4, that quite easily could have been player of the game week.
Grealish and Barkley.
Yeah.
Grealish and Barkley deserve a huge shout. And like I said, they did enter my head, but I just think 2 goals and an assist, you can't ignore that.
For me, Bruno Fernandes again up there, 2 goals and an assist. Gabriel Jesus as well. I thought he had a great game for Man City, got him back into the game. I'm going to go with Jack Grealish. Just a fantastic performance. Bullied Arsenal single-handedly. I wouldn't even say single-handedly, actually, thinking about it. But he bullied Bellerin. Just a phenomenal player. And Villa have got to count themselves lucky to have him still. And then my shout of the week, I actually had Ollie Watkins in my fantasy side, and he got me 10 points for the Arsenal game, 2 goals. Villa have got Brighton and Hove Albion at home next, so I'm going to go with Ollie Watkins as the sort of shout of the week. I do think he's going to bag a few goals against a leaky Brighton defence, especially if Grealish is putting them on a plate for him. So, yeah, my fantasy shout would definitely be Ollie Watkins. Maybe Aaron Creswell as well. I think he's been doing so well for West Ham. But if you're talking about getting big points next weekend, I think you've got to turn to Ollie Watkins, because I'm backing him to get at least a goal against a dodgy Brighton side.
Well, we got international break now, so we'll have to wait and see how everyone returns. And Tellez coming back for United is a huge thing, because Big Luke Shaw's picked up a little bit of a knock as well. And Rashford's obviously missing the Ireland game with a little bit of a knock. So there's going to be players, with a few knocks and niggles, and hopefully they can shake them off and then come back and really start performing.
Well, next week we will cover obviously England, because they'll have played a few games by then. We'll also sort of review most teams' sort of seasons so far, and we'll talk about realistically where we think they're gonna finish this year. I mean, this video will give probably an awful lot away about where we think the teams are going to finish this year, with what we've said. But yeah, we're going to be reviewing the Premier League fixtures every week. So obviously look out for it. We will try and do a form of predictions. We don't know how we're going to do it yet, but we will try and do a predictions. We'll probably have to do the predictions for the next game week, and then review them the game week after, the weekend after, on the next one. But yeah, I've enjoyed it, Braden, and hopefully more to come, mate.
Hopefully we get this is a good first one, and we can build on it and do more to come. And like I said, like Morgan mentioned, we'll look more into England, the Champions League, Europa League, anything to do with sport. I know the MLS playoffs are coming up. I'm heavily interested in that, with old Toronto doing well in that and qualified. So we'll cover most of the stuff that we have interest in, or you guys have interest in, and we'll go from there. But no, I think it's been a good first episode.
Definitely has, mate. And so I guess we'll leave on sort of, what would you say is the game of the week? If we're looking at a game that produced a high quality match, what are we saying this week?
I think there was a few standout games. I mean, if I had to maybe count 5 quickly, because I just have them, I'll go United Everton was a good game. Villa Liverpool, Villa Arsenal, Liverpool City, obviously. I think Palace's result against Leeds is huge. And I'll probably go with West Ham Fulham, just for the entertainment factor. But them games are all fantastic. But if I had to pick one, I think Villa's comes close, because that was just an incredible performance. But I just think Arsenal didn't really put up much of a fight. Obviously, West Ham was entertainment factor. City Liverpool, like the first half, had bits of really good football, fantastic football, but tailed off. I'll still go United Everton. I think quality of both teams, what was on the line sort of for Man United and what's on the line for Everton, not winning the past 2. It was a huge game going into it, and I don't think it disappointed in quality. It was clearly there to show. I think Everton gave it a good go towards the end, trying to maybe get a point. But yeah, no, I'll go with that game, with Man United against Everton.
I think if we were talking about performance of the week, I definitely think Villa would have won it.
Yeah.
For the 3-0 win against Arsenal. But for game of the week, I'm going to go with Sheffield United versus Chelsea. I think the way Chelsea played in that was so brilliant to watch. Hakim Ziyech looks like just an unreal footballer. If you do get a chance, go and watch the highlights, because there was a point where after Chelsea scored, I think it was the 3rd goal, Ziyech played one of the best through balls I think I've ever seen to Timo Werner, and he missed. But it would have been such a great assist. But I think just Chelsea's performance overall warranted You know, Sheffield United gave them a good fight, but Chelsea come out victors in the end. But I would say that was probably the best game of the week. The fact that, you know, Chelsea had to play well to win the game. I'll probably say that was the game of the week.
Yeah, no, definitely a good shout.
So we will be back next week. I imagine same time on a Tuesday, and we will be hopefully reviewing England winning some matches, and hopefully Jack Grealish can get some appearances for England and prove to Gareth Southgate why he should be in that side regardless. So
Yeah, we'll save our opinions on Grealish in England for the next one.
Yeah, because it'll be a tasty one. There's still a bit of an aggression towards Gareth Southgate with the Grealish situation. So, but yeah, we will be back next Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for watching. If you stayed the full length, and make sure you, I guess if it's going up on YouTube, maybe we'll like and subscribe. And like I said, we'll be coming at you weekly of content, and we may do stuff in the midweek as well.
Cheers, guys.